Hi, I'm Jay with the Heartbeat of Holliston. Today we're going to be learning all about the new location of the Metro West Regional YMCA. We'll meet special guests and try to answer all of your questions. Stay tuned. I'm here today at the Trolley Brook Trail across the street from Walker Field on Memorial Drive in Ashland. Joining me today is Russ Hoyt, President and CEO of Team Hoyt and the Hoyt Foundation. Just a short distance behind us in the woods is the future location of the brand new Metro West Regional YMCA. Russ, you and your family have a long history with the Y and with the Metro West area. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Sure. So about 10 years ago, the Metro West YMCA had their first Inspiration Breakfast, and it was to lead into the Boston Marathon. And they wanted to do a specific award called an Inspiration Award, and they had asked my father and brother to be involved with that, and they said yes. And then it sort of just took off as this relationship specifically with the Metro West YMCA, that our family became honored as the first honorees through my father and Rick, and then we stayed involved as my father and Rick were able to nominate the next award winner. And then every year after, they were involved in the conversation. Who should it be? How should the program play out? When my dad passed, Rick and I continued that tradition, and we actually worked together with the staff at the YMCA. And then when Rick passed, I was fortunate enough that they wanted to keep working with me, and I've been able to keep that relationship building. Our family's relationship with the YMCA starts way back before that, though. Mom was a swim instructor, and when we were all very young, as soon as we could walk, we could swim, because we all know how important, water safety is. A little bit of a funny story is that my father couldn't swim. The rest of us could. And then when he and Rick got asked to try triathlons, he actually had to go learn to swim. So at that point, Rick could actually swim a little bit further than my dad until he actually learned to swim. And he actually used some YMCAs as a place to learn to swim himself.
Wow, that's amazing. What a wonderful story. I'm glad to hear you mention your mom, because we don't hear as much about her. But I think that people forget that how important swimming lessons are, not just for fun, but for safety.
Absolutely, and this new YMCA that we're standing on the area where it's going to be built, there's actually going to be some space dedicated to Mom's memory, and talking about one of the things that she used to say to people is, ask me about my dream. And we hope that space will be there with a title that says ask me about my dream, so that people can come in and talk about anything that they want. And you mentioned how important my mom's part of the story was. She actually got Rick into public school at a time when people with disabilities weren't going to their public school, and Rick met a gym teacher in public school that asked him to run a race. And then Rick came home and said, Dad, will you push me in that race? Dad said the famous, yes, you can. That has become the Team Hoyt motto. And that's the whole reason that Team Hoyt ever even came to be. Without Mom getting Rick into public school, none of it would have happened.
Right. I'm glad to hear that part of the story. So we're going to head back to the studio so we can learn more about this exciting new addition to our community. Thank you, Rick. Russ and I are now back in the studio, and we're joined today by Rick MacPherson, President and CEO of the Metro West Regional YMCA, and board member and leadership cabinet member and Holliston resident, Jay Robie. Welcome, everyone. Thanks. So we're talking today about the newest location of the Metro West Regional YMCA. And Rick, I'd like to ask you, how did the idea for the new YMCA come about?
Well, the idea really started back all the way in 1960 when the YMCA came to the Metro West area. The communities realized that there was a real need for a YMCA, and so Board of Directors decided to have a YMCA charter to serve Hopkinton, Holliston, Ashland, Sherborne, Framingham, Natick, Wayland, and Sudbury. So the first chip to fall was the outdoor center in Hopkinton. That was 1960. Then in 1970, 280 Old Connecticut Path, the Framingham facility, came into existence. And it did a nice job back then serving all of Metro West, those two facilities. But just imagine from 1970, when Framingham was established, the population has grown dramatically, in Metro West. More traffic, more people. Holliston and Hopkinton, Ashland and Sherborne, the population has grown dramatically. So by the time you get to about 1980, 1985, people out here in Holliston were saying it's too far. It's too much of a hassle to try to get my kids in the car, drag them to the Y for swim lessons, or for my mom to go all the way into Framingham. So the idea really evolved over time. And somewhere in the 80s, this part of our service area was really reaching out, saying, can we somehow try to bring a Y, to this area to serve this side of the service area? Mm-hmm. And so that's where the idea came from, and it kept happening all the way until I became CEO 13 years ago. And our board said one of the first things out of the gate was, Rick, we need to make this happen, and we need, to focus on trying to find a location and getting the community, kind of organized so we can make this Y a reality. And right about 2020, we had a 12.5-acre piece of property donated to the Y in a perfect location to really drive this project forward.
That's wonderful. Can you tell us a little bit about the name? What's the name of the new Y, and how was that decided upon?
Well, I love the story about that. About 10 years ago, the YMCA became an official charity of the BAA, and that's a big deal, right? There are only so many bibs, and it's a real honor to be a charity for the BEA. And our service area drives right through Boston Marathon country, right? And so, if you're from Metro West, you love the Boston Marathon, and if you love the Boston Marathon, you love the Hoyt family and the whole story of Rick and Dick and the inspiration they've brought to our communities is just unbelievable. So 10 years ago, when we became a charity, we decided to have a marathon community breakfast to kick off our fundraising and to get our marathon team of 15 runners, excited and ready to roll. And we thought, how great would it be if we had an inspiration award as part of our big breakfast? And so we reached out to Rick Hoyt and Dick Hoyt and said, would you consider letting us honor you at our first breakfast? And Rick and Dick graciously agreed. They came to our breakfast. We presented them with an award, and they just stole the show. Our community fell in love with Rick and Dick. And then from there on, they stayed with us every single year for every single breakfast, helping us identify new Inspiration Award winners and helping us. They just became more and more part of our Y family. So fast forward 10 years later, we have this piece of property, we have this great project in mind, and our board of directors, along with our staff team, was saying, what are we going to call this Y? Well, it's on the marathon route, on Route 135, 5 miles in. The Hoyts mean so much to our Y that our board gave me the okay to reach out to Russ and ask him if he would allow us, if his foundation, his family would allow us or consider allowing us to name this new facility in honor of the Hoyt family. And the rest is history. He said yes. And we couldn't be more excited or more proud of that.
Yes, that's great. So it's the Team Hoyt Community Metro West YMCA.
Yes.
Yes.
The Team Hoyt Community YMCA.
Team
Yes.
Hoyt
It's the
Community
Metro West YMCA, and Team Hoyt Community YMCA is a branch of that organization.
Okay, great. What does this mean to you? Tell us how you feel about this.
I was blown away when Rick asked and said that their board was considering naming, and he said, please take some time. I said, the only time I need is to catch my breath so that I can actually say thank you. It's a real honor. My father and Rick absolutely loved being asked to be the first Inspiration Award winners, and as Rick said, came back every year and were able to nominate the next year's recipient of the award. So, they were able to name Dave McGilvery and Doug Flutie and Joe Andruzzi and some of these other people who really have had, powerful stories and impacts on both the marathon and the YMCA. Also, for us to be involved in the YMCA, it just connects so much with our family and our family's story. My mom was a swim instructor, and we all learned to swim. She took us down to the YMCA where she was a swim instructor, and we all learned to swim at a very early age. And Rick's first opportunity to ever actually be included in some activities happened at a YMCA. And the fact that this YMCA is not only being named the Team Hoyt Community YMCA, but they've asked us to help be involved with the architects and the design of the building. So it will be the most inclusive YMCA in the entire country and be a model, for other facilities to be able to follow. And just to have those pieces put together, it means so much to the entire family.
Yeah, I'm sure it does. I think a lot of people are familiar with the Y, at least a little bit. They might have used the gym at the Y or taken swimming lessons, or maybe you sent your kids to camp there, and I'm going to mention that. In fact, my own child, my children, my husband went to the outdoor Y camp way back in the day, and I sent my children there, and in fact my daughter, who uses a wheelchair, was able to go to camp at the Y. And I didn't know that she would be able to, and it never occurred to me to ask, and somebody from the Y approached me. She had been taking swimming lessons there, and they said, she can go to camp there, and it was the most amazing thing. So if you wouldn't mind, can you tell us some of the other things other than gym and swim? What are some of the other things that the Y offers?
Yeah. When people in the community think of the Y as gym and swim, it makes me crazy because, it's not your parents or your grandparents' YMCA anymore. It's so much more than a gym and swim. At the Metro West YMCA and at YMCAs across the country, by the way, so many amazing things happen. At our Framingham branch, we have all sorts of great evidence-based health initiatives going on that are really making a difference for people with Parkinson's disease, for instance. We have programs for families that are dealing with, or for people that are coming off their cancer treatments. It's called Live Strong at the Y, and you can come to the Y for free, be part of a program after you've got you've been through your treatments to rebuild your strength. And while you're doing that, your entire family can be a member of the Y as well. Another amazing thing that maybe everyone doesn't know, but our Y is really involved in food insecurity issues now. Who would have thought, 10 years ago that it would be such an important part of what the Y does? About 10 years ago, we started down this road of making sure that our members, our community, had good nutrition information, that we were making sure we had healthy snacks. We were doing all sorts of things like that. We were making sure kids in our programs were getting healthy meals, all of that. And in Framingham, we had this opportunity to do the facility over. And we decided to put a commercial kitchen in there so that we could really up our game when it came to preparing food. And just as that was finished, COVID hit. And we went from preparing about 1,000 meals a day, 1,000 meals a week, to 1,000 meals a day. Wow. I was at a little Y gathering this morning, and this year alone, our Y has put out over 150,000 meals into the Metro West community. So the work around food insecurity, taking care of people's needs, has just become such a big part of what we do, but with programs for seniors and for moms and for babies, summer camp programs, you name it. There is really something for everyone.
There's even going to be a state-of-the-art early childhood center that'll serve 98 children. That'll be an additional facility that'll be right here on the same campus with the YMCA itself. So it's as Rick said, there's just so much more to the YMCA that people can learn about and reach out and to find out more how they can be involved.
Yeah.
And it's important for the community to know that the YMCA really is the community. It's led by Jay Robie and others like him that are representatives of all of our communities that help guide everything that the Y does.
Mm-hmm. I think that I'm so glad you mentioned the food security and food rescue program. I think that's so important that I'd love to have you come back and talk a little bit more about that on its own show. But let's go back to, you mentioned the programs, for example, the Live Strong and the Parkinson's program, and you mentioned that they're free. Do people have to be members of the Y to avail themselves of the services?
Right, so for those special programs, no, those are free, and as Jay knows, we're out there hustling all the time, getting grants and donations, and that's how we make those programs available. So no, and even if, regardless of those at the Y, we don't turn away anyone because of inability to pay, period, right? There is a price, and it's affordable, but if you can't afford it, we provide assistance to kids, families, anyone who needs it for anything.
I think we have a video, actually, a little bit about the Parkinson's program, which is not just Parkinson's, it's other neurodegenerative
That's right.
disorders as well. I think we have a video of that.
The Y has given us so many opportunities to fulfill our health. We got a family pass in 1980 for the Y, and I started swimming, and I ended up doing 50 laps nonstop, and that's when I became addicted to swimming. And my children and grandchildren swam here and went to the camp, and they love it too. It's a good camp. My arm was the first to tremor, then my legs started shaking. I was driven to hit it head on. I didn't feel sorry for myself, I didn't say, woe is me, and I made the best of it. Every system in Parkinson's is affected and it stinks, but if you have some light at the end of the tunnel, even if it's temporary, it's helpful. Being involved in the Y has been a positive influence on me and my family and my friends. The support that you get here is unbelievable.
Pete Donahue is a longtime member here. He was diagnosed with Parkinson's. He was working with one of our trainers, Laura Gilbert. We had support from his wife, Gail Lauder, and son, Seth Podolsky, who was a physician who gave us some information about what kind of diet and what kind of exercise could help manage some of the symptoms. It turned into offering the same programs to other people that were in our Y. Then group classes started, and now we've been able to research and look into other programs and continue to add what we're offering to meet people at all their different needs and levels.
I enjoy all of the programs that you have offered here, but mostly the swimming. I can't swim because I swim crooked and I smash into the wall. But instead of saying I can't do something, I say, how can I do this? So I water walk now, and I love that.
It's not all about physical activity. It involves the social group as well. We let people pick and choose what's going to be best for them. And you can see that everybody's working at their own pace, and we have staff there supporting that and encouraging that.
The staff is invaluable. They care. They want to support people. They want people to be successful. And that helps. That gives you motivation. It gives you energy to keep carrying on when you don't feel like it. I can walk down the hall and Lisa will talk to me. I'll start crying. She gives me a hug. She talks to me. I can go to Leslie, I start crying. She gives me a hug and gives me support. So I've named that drive-by support. It makes me laugh. I have a whole community of people. We carpool and we motivate each other. Like if I don't feel like going today, people go, get up, go. And we have a strong community.
Lois is so positive and hopeful, and I think that inspires and gives hope to other people that are in the program also at different stages of their diagnosis.
Having the camaraderie and the encouragement and support is worth a lot.
It's wonderful. Yeah, and I guess Lois has been a member of the Y for quite a long time.
That's right.
Yeah, that's wonderful. How would people find out about something like that?
Well, you can just simply go to the MetroWestYMCA.org website. I mean, it is a beautiful website with all the information you could possibly need.
Yeah. Wonderful. Jay, let's ask you, how did you become involved with the Y?
So my initial exposure to the Y was as a young boy going to the YMCA summer camp. So that was initially how I was exposed to it, and had great memories of going out to Children's Island up in the North Shore by boat, actually, which was kind of an unusual but a fun experience. And fast forward, when I moved into the area, into Holliston, I was approached by a former coworker about 10 years ago, who at the time was on the board at the YMCA's Family Outdoor Center in Hopkinton. It's about a mile down the street from the Pinecrest. Essentially asking me if I'd like to get involved. Initially at the time, I wasn't sure how much time I would have to spend because I was doing a lot of coaching. But the more I thought about it, the more I said to myself, I can't say no here because it's just too important. I mean, as Rick and Russ both highlighted, there's just too many important aspects of what it does to be ignored and to ignore a great opportunity like that. So I was excited to jump on board, and before I knew it, there were conversations about this new Y that would service Holliston amongst other places, and I was glad. I was humbled to be invited. In some ways, I looked at it as a chance to be the voice, or one of the voices of Holliston, to make sure that Holliston was well represented as well, because it will serve a handful of towns and offer some pretty exciting programs.
Yeah. What do you see this? How will this benefit Holliston residents?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think it's going to benefit probably in sort of three major ways: community need, impact, and sustainability. Looking at meeting community needs, for example, the programs that will be centered around youth development and safety, early education, and health and wellness. As far as impact goes, and expanding impact and access, there will center around the facility itself will be centered around serving as a multi-generational hub, but also inclusive. And I think Rick talked about this, the importance of this, and to Russ's point, serving as a model, potentially nationwide, for other Ys who are trying to maximize this concept of inclusivity. And then the third area of sustainability, which is really ensuring long-term sustainability. The Ys will be around after we're all gone, and they have been around for many, many years. The Metro West Y has served for decades, right in our backyard here, and it has the expertise and the partnerships and the trust to deliver a transformational project that will really mean a lot, I think, to the people in Holliston. For example, there's never really been a community area, a community gathering place for middle school students or high school students, and again, this will provide a place like that in many ways. And then really the economic and social return of this project, where every dollar that's invested in the Y will ripple back into the community in terms of how it helps folks in the greater Holliston community.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that about a gathering place for the younger people, middle school and high school students, because if you've ever been on social media around Holliston, that's one of the biggest complaints is there's no place for younger people to go and just kind of be. And so it's nice that there will be another choice for them. Yeah.
And then the only other thing I would mention too, Ann, is that part of what is in the plans is to include workforce support. So a child care center for working parents, and as we all can appreciate, that's vital, especially in our region here.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I'd like to mention, I forgot to mention it earlier, that I believe that this location is on a bus route as well. So I think that there's...
So it's Memorial Drive.
Yeah.
So again, if you're going down Route 135, 5 miles out of Hopkinton, you roll into Ashland, and Memorial Drive is on your left, and there's a train station, MBTA train station, right at the top of the hill.
There. Yeah. I think that's going to be very helpful.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Now, Rick, what do you see as the timeline for this? When can we see?
So right now, we're in the process of site plan approval in the town of Ashland. We're about, I'd say, 2/3 of the way done, and we're hoping to have site plan approval before the end of this year. If that happens, so this is an expensive project, by the way. This is about a $50 million total project. And RY has so far secured about $11 million of that. And so it puts us in a great position to be able to, we hope, break ground in the fall of 2026 and get this project rolling. When it gets completed, kind of depends on how quickly the capital campaign and the financing comes together. But the ball will get rolling for the first phase of this, which would be the Early Learning Center and, some of the Nature's Edge, some of the outdoor amenities. And then as we continue to raise money, it's going to evolve. So it's hard to say exactly when it will be completed, but we're on track to keep moving right now.
Right. So what do you see as the next steps?
Well, site plan approval, of course, is the first next step. Continued fundraising in a big way is a next step. Just fine-tuning the details of the plan. The plan is really close to being completed, but completing those, the fine-tuning of that is probably a next step. And after that, it would be hiring a construction manager and just keeping the ball rolling.
This is all very exciting, and I hope that we'll have a chance to hear more about it as it progresses.
Sure.
I'm looking forward to having the Team Hoyt community YMCA in our community. Thank you all so very much for coming on and answering our questions about it.
Yeah,
Thank you
for having us.
That was
Thank
really,
you.
thank you.
For Heartbeat of Holliston, I'm Ann Jay.